President Trump's former colleagues will answer to 7 federal charges today.
Fox 5 legal analyst Wendy Patrick is here breaking down the case against Roger Stone. Wendy, good morning.
Good morning.
He's already said, "I'm pleading not guilty."
He did. Everybody pleads not guilty
Sure.
at felony arraignment. However, what's unique about Roger Stone is the defiant defensiveness with which he has embarked on this post-arrest media tour, really just touting for the world to hear, going on the cable news circuit, explaining he's not guilty of anything. That's very, very different than some of the other Trump confidants that have been indicted, who have basically gone silent and dropped off the grid, as most people do between arrest and trial.
He's been very vocal.
Yes, he has.
Very, very vocal. What do we expect to happen in court today? What are we going to see?
Great question, Shali. In terms of procedure, not much. He will be told about the charges against him. He already knows that. He'll enter a plea of not guilty. Everybody knows that's going to happen. His bail will probably remain the same. He does not appear to be any kind of a flight risk. But what everybody is waiting for is what kind of spectacle will happen afterwards. Will he emerge again in the Nixon-esque victory tour, or will the judge impose a gag order? In other words, will the judge decide, you know what, I'm not going to allow either side to publicly discuss this case? Can you imagine, Shali, if that happens? That would basically mean that any further discussion or commentary couldn't come from the parties themselves.
Yeah, and there's the Nixon pose. You know,
there it is.
The Nixon thing,
Yep.
that didn't end well for Nixon, so I don't know. That's the exact symbolism that you want out of all this.
I agree, Raul.
How do we connect what's going on here with the Mueller probe? Because that's kind of what's been happening this whole time. You have cases here and there, and people getting indicted here and there, and somehow it's all supposed to connect to the Mueller probe. How does this connect?
That's the question, isn't it? Because what is missing from that indictment is anything charging Stone with conspiracy, anything charging him with the kind of collusion type crimes that Mueller's investigating. And that's one of the reasons that we made the same argument when we discussed some of the other Trump confidants who have been indicted. What does it have to do with the White House? The president says nothing, Roger Stone says nothing, and that's, by the way, why he's willing to talk to Mueller, because in his words, it's not going to implicate either himself or the president.
Okay, Stone has said he has no intentions of cutting a deal with the special counsel, says that he's a very good friend of the president, does not plan to testify against him. How does this, though, relate then to the Trump administration? How is this going to work out?
Well, remember, Roger Stone never said that he wouldn't testify against others in the administration. All he said is he's not going to falsely implicate the president. He's been very clear over the weekend. Remember, he was on every station. His face was all over television, that he's willing to talk to the Mueller team truthfully, and that he may have information about others in the administration. He'd be happy to provide that testimony. His loyalty, basically, and what he's saying that he's not going to do is make up anything against the president.
It's bizarre.
Very bizarre.
So there was already talk about the president pardoning Roger Stone. If the president pardons him, can he still be compelled to testify, but he would have immunity?
Great question,
And then what would
Raul.
be the fallout from that?
So Roger Stone would say, pardon me for what? I haven't done anything. Now, this is an interesting legal question. Could he refuse a pardon, maintain his Fifth Amendment privilege? Remember, that's a privilege against self-incrimination. It's not a privilege to not have to testify against anyone. It's not like you receive a pardon and all of a sudden you're off the witness list. You could very well be compelled to testify against somebody else. And Roger Stone, remember, maybe a pardon is going to be delayed. Maybe he says, okay, I'm going to accept this pardon, but that'll only be good for federal crimes. You can't pardon somebody for state crimes. So that opens so many different possibilities. Maybe we'll be talking about that next week, because it definitely is something that is on the radar. Everybody's speculating as to whether that could happen.
I love how he's going to make the appearance in court in D.C. and we're all wondering about what's he going to do.
We want to see the aftermath. That's right. We want to see the aftermath. That's right.
Wendy Patrick, more to come on this.
More to come. Thank you.
7:20.